At the moment, my country, the Netherlands, has about 1,600 soldiers in Afghanistan. For our size, we are one of the leading troop providers. Most of our people are in Uruzgan, a small, poor mountain province in the south, bordering on Kandahar. The central government in Kabul has very little control over this province, and the security situation is extremely fragile. What is the Netherlands doing there? And to answer that question, I will tell you something about my country's history. With a population of about 16 million, the Netherlands is quite a small country. But we have a wide horizon. We've always been a nation of seafarers and entrepreneurs who do business all over the world. Our international outlook has been the base of our success for over 4 centuries. And thanks to our outward-looking mentality, we are the 16th largest economy in the world. I remember a few years ago I went to Australia, then we had a 400-year ties between Australia and the Netherlands. My brother lived for 7 years in Singapore, and when you are visiting in Malacca, you will see buildings with the history, British architecture. Why The Hague is now the legal capital of the world. And that's why, in 1949, we were one of the 12 countries that founded NATO. We believe in the power, rights and democracy. And we know that these words are meaningless without action, both nationally and internationally, even in places where it's difficult. And this is why we are working with our partners in Afghanistan, to create stability and make our world safer for them and for us. Out of solidarity with people whose chance of a better life is very much smaller than ours. To prevent terrorists from expanding their influence and endangering everything we hold dear. And finally, because we are allies and we take our responsibility seriously. When you have a common goal that you believe in, you have to work together to achieve it, even when the going gets tough. Dutch troops have been active since 2006 in summer in Uruzgan, where they work together with the Australian troops. As you may know, Afghanistan is one of the 5 poorest countries in the world, and the province of Uruzgan is one of the most deprived provinces in the whole country. The problems there are overwhelming. More than 19% of the population cannot write or read. There's hardly any infrastructure. There are very few economic opportunities apart from growing opium poppies. The Karzai government has hardly any control of the mountain regions where the Taliban are hiding. People are afraid. Freedom was unknown to them until a few years ago. And it's important to give a realistic picture of the developments in Afghanistan. So let's consider the progress that has been made there over the last 5 years. Infant mortality has fallen by 40%. 5 million Afghan children are in school, over 5 times as many as in 2001. And girls have full access to education. 8 out of 10 Afghans have access to basic health care. In Uruzgan alone, over 100 health posts have been set up. Per capita income has doubled in the past 4 years. The economy is growing at a rate of 12% per year. And all these changes are improving everyday life for ordinary people. Afghanistan is one of the most democratic countries in the region. It is learning to work effectively with its neighbors. Since 2002, 4 million Afghan refugees have returned to their home country. The army is better equipped for the work it does. And 2 years ago, there were nearly twice as many ISAF troops as Afghan soldiers in the country. And now the ratio is 1:1. These are all positive developments. But they have not removed the serious concerns. For instance, last year there were more terrorist attacks and more civilian casualties. The Taliban and the warlords are stepping up their campaign of violence and intimidation as ISAF and the Afghan army advance further into the remote areas of the country. Corruption within the government and the police remains a major problem. And there are still concerns about human rights. Not everyone is prepared to allow others the freedom that they themselves take for granted. Our dream of a safe Afghanistan, where all people work together in freedom without fear, to bring prosperity to the nation, is still a long way off. And many feel that change is not happening fast enough, and I'm aware of that. Within a human lifespan, 6 years seems like a long time. But when I consider the size of the task, which entails building a country from the ground up, I think it will actually take several decades. And it will require a great deal of determination from us all. Firstly, from the Afghan authorities. The primary responsibility for a safe Afghanistan, where law and order prevails, lies with President Karzai's government. More needs to be done to fight corruption and drug trafficking. More ambitious efforts should be made to build a government that Afghans can trust. Tribal disputes cannot always be avoided, but a government should not take sides. The Afghan government must show that it is there for all Afghans of goodwill, wherever they live and whatever tribe they belong to. Secondly, Afghanistan's neighbors have a big responsibility. They should do everything in their power to increase stability in this region. Thirdly, the international community must not leave Afghanistan to its fate. The 3D approach, defense, diplomacy, and development, really works. All three elements are essential and each reinforces the other. Our international efforts could be a lot more effective too. We could achieve better results with the same resources if our activities were better coordinated. A total of 42 countries are working in Afghanistan under the ISAF banner. Many of them have a regional focus, each one involved in its own region with its own programs and projects. It is time for us all to move towards adopting a nationwide approach. After all, Afghanistan is a single country, so let's treat it like one. There's a job here for the United Nations. This should be given a stronger role. Ultimately, we need a regular UN peacekeeping force and a UN-coordinated development program. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been to Afghanistan several times. Not only to talk to President Karzai, but also to visit our troops. And did you know that most of our people in Afghanistan are your age? I have the greatest respect for what all the troops from every country are achieving in extremely difficult circumstances. You are, and I'm watching you, you are in your early 20s. You are in your early 20s.
Your seats, and if you were in the